everyone, my name is Nicolle Mapiye, and on this channel I do videos about my life living here in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. I also offer one-on-one coaching for potential and current migrants on relocation, cover letter, interview and resume coaching, and also family relationship coaching. So if you're interested in those services, please click the link in the description below on more information on how to book. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a key interview question. If you've ever been for an interview, you know that most times, 9 times out of 10, this question is going to be asked. And that is, tell us about yourself. For me personally, that question has been asked in like every interview that I've been in. And I've been to, I don't know, maybe over 10 plus interviews in my life, or definitely more than 10. And that question is always asked. Sometimes it's phrased in a different way, but they're really trying to ask you to tell them about yourself. And what I have noticed about this question, it's often a stumbling block. Well, I know that it was for me at one point where I'd get the question, tell us about yourself. And I'll be like, I'll just hit a blank. I'm like, okay, what exactly about myself do you want to know? And sometimes it caught me off guard and I didn't know which direction to take. I'm like, are they asking about my technical qualifications? Are they asking about my experience? Like, what exactly are they asking about? It's such a broad question, and it's often asked right at the beginning of the interview, and it can set you up for success or basically failure, because it can make you answer it in a way that makes you feel more confident, or it can just kind of make you feel a little bit deflated, and then you maintain that tone for the rest of the interview. So it's really key to know how to answer this interview question. From what I've learned from my experience is how this question is answered will differ depending on the country that you're in and the workplace culture that they have. For example, if I was to be in a Zimbabwean interview and they asked me, tell us about yourself, versus if I'm in an Australian like job interview and they ask me, tell us about yourself, I'm going to provide like a little bit, different question. Like, I'm going to provide different responses because it really depends on the workplace culture. And these days, like, people, just because of the internet, because of working from home, a lot of people are now able to work in different countries. Like, I could be in Australia and work in America, for example, because my job can be 100% online. I actually had a coaching client of mine who was living in one country and they worked in a completely different country across the world, and they managed to do that because they were working exclusively from home. So that is something that is becoming more and more common. So people might want to know, like, what is the workplace culture in a different area, for example. Now back to the question, tell us about yourself. When it's asked in a job interview in Australia, what they are not asking you is, tell us about what you've already told us about in your cover letter, or tell us about what you've already told us about in your resume. And I think that is the major mistake that people make, is they will go on and regurgitate their whole resume when they're told to tell us about themselves. Like, they just say, oh, I've worked here, I've done this, I've got this qualification, I'm qualified in this. Now that is all like fair and fine if you use that like maybe just as an introduction statement to say, maybe I have technical qualifications in this area and I have 10 years experience working in this field. Use it as an introduction. Don't then delve deeper into, this is where I've worked and this is what I've done and blah, 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 blah. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because you've already provided that information in your resume and in your cover letter, and you assume that they've already read your resume and your cover letter, hence you're sitting at the interview table, because they've seen that just by those documents that you've provided, you are qualified enough to be sitting at the next stage of the recruitment process, which is the interview process. So you don't need to do that again. What you need to do is to then add more value to what you've already given them. Tell them something that they don't know. And in an Australian context, they want to know, are you a good fit for the team? How are you different from every other applicant that we're going to interview today? So they want to know your point of difference. They're basically wanting to know about yourself, like exactly that, not about your experience or your previous like work life or what you have studied. They want to know, who are you as a person? Assuming that everyone they're going to interview that day is just as qualified, you're all on the same level. Now tell us, what is your point of difference? This is your opportunity at the beginning of the interview to tell them, hey, this is how I stand out from everybody else. This is what I bring to the team that's unique. And they're talking about fit for team. Like, what is your personality like? What are your interests? And you do it in a way that, you know, you're saying how it is relevant to the job that you're going to be doing. And a key thing that you need to consider when answering this question is the job description. Now, when it comes to the job description, many times people can, like, you know, apply for a job on different websites, whether you've seen a classified thing about it, whether you've searched on seek.com or via LinkedIn, you apply for the job. And many times what do? You just maybe download the key criteria, download the PDF version, but the actual like front page version of when they're advertising, like, hey, we're looking for a team member who's this, the actual job ad, a lot of people don't keep that. And that is a very important document if you're going to answer effectively that question, tell us about yourself, because they're really looking to see, are you the person we are looking for? Are you the person who we said we're advertising for? Now, when you're looking at Australian job ads, and you can see these on seek.com.au, they often ask for, like, you know, we're looking for an enthusiastic whatever IT person who is a good team player and passionate about blah 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 blah. Now, that is what they're asking when they say, tell us about yourself. They're looking to see, are you that person? Are you that enthusiastic person we're talking about? Are you that like passionate person we've been looking for? Are you that team player that we want to add to the team? Those are some of the keywords that you can use from the initial job ad to add to answer the question, tell us about yourself. If they said they're looking for someone enthusiastic, see how you can incorporate that into your answer. Use those keywords and, you know, say what you're enthusiastic about, like depending on what they asked about. If they're saying, you're enthusiastic about maybe the job, or, you know, you're someone who's self-motivated, or you're a good team player, you're always looking out for the team, you always want to see better ways on which the team can work together, you're always, you know, trying to help out your team members, making sure no one is left behind, and, you know, those kind of things that are not particularly focusing on your technical expertise or particularly focusing on your work experience. So those things that just make you unique. And from my experience of the corporate world in Australia, there are very qualified people out there who are not a good fit for the team, because the Australian workplace, I find it to be, you know, they really value the social aspect of people, and the people who are more social, who interact more with the team, tend to do better in the team, and they tend to get promoted. I have been on both sides. I have been that team member who likes to interact with other people, and I've also been at one point that team member who just sits down, head down, like, you know, at their desk doing a good job, and thinking that that's enough. Unfortunately, in the Australian work context, it is not enough. Just for you doing a good job, submitting your things on time is usually not enough, because you will get the job done, and, you know, you will get some acknowledgement for that. But in terms of career progression, they want someone who has a little bit more to offer. And that's why you find that this is very common in Australian workplaces to see a technical area, even like IT or, whatever it is, or another field, maybe HR, it doesn't matter the field. You see that the person at the top, the manager of the area, doesn't even have technical qualifications in that space that they're managing, but they're just that kind of personality that is, easy to get along with. They're that personality who is really confident in themselves, and they present very well at meetings. They value that aspect more than actual technical expertise when it comes to leadership. So if you're someone who's looking to excel in your career, if you're looking to go higher and occupy, other roles that are higher than the one you're applying for, really pitch yourself as that in your interview when you're asked to tell us about yourself. Tell them how confident you are, or when it comes to presentations, you are a fluent speaker, or maybe you are a confident speaker. You know how to engage the audience, you know how to interact with different levels of management. All those kind of things are the things that they're looking for, and it's often things that we haven't really had an opportunity to really go deep about when it's our cover letter, because the cover letter in Australia is usually just 1 page, 2 pages at most, and we are trying to pack everything in there. You don't get an opportunity to really expand those things that set you apart. And another important thing is to actually be sure what sets you apart, and not to lie, because sometimes in interviews you might sell yourself as something you're not, and then you get the job and they're expecting this person that they saw in the interview, and they get someone completely different. They're just confused. So make sure that you are presenting yourself like in a genuine way. Like, take time to reflect. Take time to reflect on your qualities that set you apart, and really understand, reflect on different jobs that you have done. What have you really enjoyed? What has set you apart? What more do you bring, besides your technical expertise and your work experience? What more do you bring as a person? What is it about your personality that shines in the workplace? What qualities about yourself do you love? What qualities about yourself do people tell you that they enjoy about you, or they find, positive about you? What kind of feedback do you get from people, formally or informally? Those are the things that you bring to the table when they ask you to tell them about yourself. Really bring those aspects about what makes you you, what makes you unique. I always say to myself, if you don't pass an interview, people are usually crushed, and myself included, because you obviously go for a job because you want the job, and when you're not successful, you're disappointed. But sometimes not getting a job is better than getting a job that you're not a good fit for, or being in a team that is not a good team. So if you sell them who you are at the interview, and they think, hey, you're probably not the best person for this team, that is a blessing in disguise, because you save yourself a whole world of pain. And I have been in situations where I have not been a good fit for the team. I have been technically qualified, I've had the relevant work experience, but I wasn't a good fit for the team dynamic, and I really didn't enjoy those roles, because it made the job really, really hard because of the team dynamic. So you really want to see, are you a good fit for the team? Use that opportunity to, tell them about yourself, tell them who you are, tell them your values, tell them what you stand for, tell them what's important to you. You know what I mean? So that they know what they're working with, and they know, hey, is this going to work for us or not? You know what I mean? First up. And this, if you tell them about yourself, and they love you, and they think, wow, this is going to be a good person for the team, and you get into the team and you figure out, hey, this team dynamic is really what I love. I'm really enjoying this team dynamic, and I also have the technical expertise, and I also have the work experience behind me to really make a positive contribution to this team, then that is probably a job you're going to be successful in. And I'll tell you from my personal experiences, jobs where I've done really well and excelled and gone to the next level are jobs where I've been a good fit for the team. And I've sold myself genuinely in the interview, and I've come to find that, hey, this team is really what I enjoy, and I was able to work happily and make a positive contribution to that role, to that team, and to that organization. So you really want to be careful about how you answer that question, and really make sure that you use it as an opportunity to see that, to show them, to ask them if you're a good fit for the team, and are you going to be happy in that job? Because of course we need work, like we need to pay bills, we go to work for a reason, like there are bills to be paid, there are things to be done, but ultimately, like, you want to enjoy the process as much as you can. You really want it to be a positive experience for both you and the team and the organization. So make sure that you are selling yourself genuinely. You are telling them about yourself. You are telling them what's important to you. This is where you can also bring your values. Like, if it's honesty, if it's integrity, like, you can tell them, I value integrity. I always want to make sure that what I do and how I present myself, I do it in a way that has a lot of integrity. I value honesty in meetings. If I'm not able to do something, I'm always upfront about it. If I'm struggling with something, I'm always upfront about it, because honesty is one of my greatest values as a person. Those are the kind of things they're looking for when they ask you to tell them about yourself. So next time you're in an interview, number one, always make sure you print out the actual job description to make sure you know what they are looking for and what they advertise for, what kind of person they're looking for, because that's usually in the job ad itself and not in the job description, which is usually like who you report to, what the job will do. They're not talking about the kind of person that they're actually after. So don't lose that piece of paper, and make sure you take it with you in the interview. Second of all, take time to reflect. Take time to yourself and really understand yourself. Understand what you bring to team environments. Understand what makes you stand out. Understand the things that are unique about you. And then make sure you put your best foot forward. You really tell them about yourself. You really don't just take that question as a way to regurgitate the documents that you've already provided to them, that they've already read, that they already know. Tell them something new. Tell them something exciting. Make them look forward to having someone like you in the team. They're like, man, we would love someone like you. You said you're like this and you're like that. We would love to have you working for us. We would love to have someone like you, like, as part of our team. Make sure you present yourself as that person. And that's it for me, guys. I hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.